The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
In the letter of St. John, we are told that God is love. That is why, when a lawyer came to him to test him, the very question that he asked was about the greatest commandment. What is the greatest commandment? And what was the response of Jesus? You shall love your God with all your mind, with all your heart, and with all your soul. Meaning to say, you have to love God with your whole being. Because the mind, the heart, and the soul are parts of the whole human being. We have to love God with the whole of our human being. And then Jesus said, this is the greatest and the first. But he added, and the second is like it. And that caught the lawyer by surprise. Why? There is another one, which is like the first. And what was it? You shall love your neighbor as yourself. St. John also, in his first letter to the Christians of his community, said, those who claim that they love God whom they cannot see, without loving the very persons whom they can see, are liars, and the truth is not with them. To love God, therefore, with our whole being, is precisely by loving our neighbors. And how are we going to love our neighbors? The conjunction as, is very important. You love your neighbor as yourself. So, who are our neighbors? Tell me, who are our neighbors? Our neighbors are those persons other than ourselves. For married people, your spouse, your children, your grandchildren, your daughters-in-law, your mother-in-law, your father-in-law are your neighbors. We are all neighbors here. Because the one sitting beside you is a person other than yourself. Other people are our neighbors. And also, I should not forget to tell you also that pets, our animals, the trees, waters, the birds in the air, they are also our neighbors. And we are going to love them the way we love ourselves. How do you love yourself? You love yourself by feeding yourself. How many times do you eat in each day? 3 times? Some ate 5 times because they have snacks in between, right? So by feeding ourselves, we are loving ourselves. What else? By growing ourselves, taking shower, and if you are sick, you go to the doctor to get medicine. What else? Resting. According to the research, the ideal time that a person person should sleep per day is what? Not 8 hours according to the research. It should be 7.6 hours. Did you get the amount of sleep? I hope you did. 7.6 hours. So we rest. And when we're tired, we take some holidays. We do some recreation. And that is how we love ourselves. For our pets, how do we love our pets? We take them to the vet when they're sick. We also feed them. We walk with them. If you don't walk with your pet, then they will grow big. And it's not good for the pet. So if it's the way we love ourselves, then that's precisely also the way we are going to love our neighbors. Jesus, by saying, you love God with your whole life, with your whole self, by loving your neighbor, is inviting us to really consider our neighbors as extensions of ourselves. That in our neighbors, we can see ourselves. And we can claim with conviction that I am my neighbor. Our failure to say that is not really loving God. Because only by loving our neighbors that we can love the way God loves us. Because God is a community. And love is a communitarian experience. It is not an experience of isolation. When we love, we are in relationship. And when we are in relationship, we are building community. And that community represents God, who is a community. In the first reading, the author of Exodus says, do not abuse, do not wrong the resident aliens. For you were also aliens when you were inside. We say that Canada is a country of immigrants. Most of us, or all of us, are coming from different, our roots come from the so-called old country. We are not original to Canada. All of us are immigrants to Canada. So when we are treating newcomers without respect, without giving them opportunity to also experience good life that we are experiencing right now, then we are not doing what the author of the book of Exodus is entreating us to do. To respect, not to abuse the resident aliens or the immigrants. Do not also abuse the widows and the orphans. Why? Because when you abuse them, and at the moment they cry to me, I will listen. And I will heed their cry. And I will avenge them. And God issued a very strong warning. I will kill all of you, making your spouses widows or widowers, and your children orphans. Because to abuse, because to exploit and to oppress others is not the right way of welcoming people into our midst. And that is what St. Paul is talking about in the second reading. We welcome people with respect, not because they are rich, not because they are the politician, the MLA or the MP, but because we are human beings. And if we want to be treated with respect, to be welcomed with love, then first of all, we should also give that to others. In a way, to love God by loving our neighbors as ourselves is really a call for all of us to remember golden rule. Who remembers what the golden rule is? In a negative form, it says, do not do unto others what you do not want others to do unto you. How about in a positive form? Do unto others what you want others to do unto you. But sadly, because of commercialization and globalization, the golden rule is changed. What is the golden rule now? Those who have the gold rules. And it's wrong. We know it's wrong. Because what Jesus says, if you have the gold, use it to love your neighbors as yourself. If you have the strength, if you have the money, use them to love your neighbor as yourself. Without loving our neighbors, we can never experience completion in ourselves. We will always be empty and incomplete. An Italian theologian says, I am useless without the other. My life without the other is like an unsharpened pencil. Why? Because my life is pointless. Like an unsharpened pencil, my life without others is pointless. And this is precisely what Jesus is asking us when he said, the greatest and the first commandment is to love God with all your mind, with all your soul, and with all your heart, and to love your neighbor as yourself. If we want to be complete, we can never say that I hate my neighbor. We can never start caring for one another. This is the fundamental calling of every Christian. That's why St. Teresa, the child Jesus, says, my vocation is to love. Unlike Mother Teresa of Calcutta, let us say to ourselves and invite ourselves to love and to love and to love until it hurts. Because when love hurts, that's really the moment that we experience true love. It's easy to say, I love you, Abby, I love you, honey. But if you really mean the word you say, you will not just say lightly, but you will say it with conviction, with faith, and with hope that the person you love will really become a person that God designs him or her to be. God loves us. Manito sakitan. And this is precisely our vocation. To love God by loving our neighbor as yourself. Because I am my neighbor. And without my neighbor, I am